Let's continue. There we go. Okay, we're recording. Morning.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nice to hear you. Good luck.
Here we go. Okay. So we're going to do 3 different grid-based ones. So let's pick 3 spots. You don't have to do them in the same ones as I do, but I'll pick 3 different spots that are kind of diametrically opposed to each other. I'm going to start in the top left one. And we're going to do LTD, Lucy the dog. So it's grid-based. So I'm going to start by, oh, hey, I do have a line. Okay. I'm going to draw a grid, not too small. Although this one's such a straightforward pattern that we don't need a whole lot of space. I'm doing them, oh gosh, not very parallel, but anyway, doing them horizontal for now, but the other ones I try to change it up as to the orientation of the grids. Okay, I'm going to try to make these square. Ooh, that's doesn't look quite square, but anyway. All right, so Lucy the dog is just a little floofs. This is where turning your tile will be really handy, your card. So start at a point and then just kind of go whoop, and like that. And then turn your tile, or not, and whoops, do it from that point in the next square, kind of like that. Oops, and kind of like that. And then the next square. It's kind of tricky envisioning where they need to be without turning it, but it can be done. And we can choose whether we...
48.
Sorry? We can choose if we want to do them kitty corner to each other or right next to each other. I'm going to try doing it kind of kitty corner, so I'm going to do this. I apologize for the noise in the background, although there ain't a whole lot I can do about it. Hopefully it's not too loud.
It's okay. It's all right.
Maybe you'll hear some good Aussie accents then. And you can leave them just floofed like that, or you could embellish them as we were learning in our class too, about looping them around, whatever. But for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. Oops, oh man, that looked lousy. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. That's it for LTD for now anyway. I'm going to move next. Let's pick another piece. I'm going to choose this section here and do a grid, but on the diagonal somewhat. So this, I was thinking we would do CC, which I think is a nice one. Oh, and they're blending ice now. They make smoothies in this cafe. It's a Subway and I don't even know what they call it, other cafe next to it that does nice little things. And in order to be here.
Jen, can I ask?
Yeah.
This is Deborah. Can I ask you a question? This CC, is it CC, like the letter C, the letter C?
Letter C, that's all it is. Yep.
Thank you.
I think it's because the shape of the pattern we do. So, all right, I get carried away doing the grid. So we're just doing a couple of C's. So like a C like that, and then a couple of C's. I mean, they're loose C's, but I think that's why it's called that. And then we just aura them a bit here. Right, so I bought a drink to be nice, since I'm using their space and their internet and stuff. I got a turmeric latte. Ooh, it's very sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, I missed this one. How do you do this?
Okay.
So you're doing a.
Sorry,
I think you did this one last week, and Deborah told me about it. I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's hard because, is there a space? Is it, how do you spell it? Okay, so start at one corner. I'm going to overshoot it just to demonstrate, but start at one corner and curve over to the other corner there. So
Okay.
I'm going to not overshoot it this time. Pretend I'm going to that corner. Just a curve that way. And then in the opposite corner, we're doing kind of like just an almond, looks kind of like an eye. Cat eye maybe, sliver there. And then just echo or aura
Hmm.
holes around it.
Oh, I don't think I did that right somehow.
And I'm changing the orientation for each square. So like this one will go up around that way. So I just keep doing this ad nauseum. You can choose what kind of orientation you want here, but I'm going to keep doing it. Sort of just doing same thing in this one. Woo.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's CC. So then I'm going to move on to my next one. I'm going to pick one right opposite here, I think. Yeah. We'll do Koch. That's the one that looks kind of like a stained glass, sort of. Let's see. I've done the vertical. It's hard to try and mix up the orientation of the grid because it always ends up being similar to a previous one. So, and that's the same angle. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of just straight. Whatever. Yeah, this is very strange. And we can vary the size too. So even if it is the same direction orientation as another grid, it can, I mean, it'll look different because it's a different pattern, but also because of doing different size. So like these squares are a little smaller than the ones above. Anyway, so there's our grid. Now we go put diamonds at each of the intersections. So you just kind of do a little triangle across. These are meant to be diamond-y as opposed to circles, but there we go. So once we've got our intersections diamonded, or some of them anyway, then we'll put some hearts in the intersections here, or in the squares, I mean. And you can do the hearts all the same direction, or you could vary, alternate with, oh gosh, terrible diamond. Okay, anyway. You can put one right there. So you could do them all the same direction, or we could rotate them. So like, I think what I'll do for kicks is rotate them in each one. So this next one I'm going to do upside down. And what you could do too is you could pick patterns that to you look especially Christmassy. That's an option. How do we do this? Interesting. Anyway, let's do some hearts. And then once we've got our hearts, we'll connect them all with a line in each direction. Sideways. And you just fill your whole grid with those. I'm gonna keep zipping along. If we have time to come back, we can do that. But also after we've done our patterns, we can consider decoration around the outside of the star too, for that matter. So, next pattern is betwixt. I don't know if you remember that one. So, we do this one, we start with triangles. It's gonna be a relatively crowded one, crowded space. So like I would say LTD is not very crowded. CC is quite crowded, you know what I mean? Like a lot of lines. COT is sort of in between. So I'm gonna put it away from CC because it's pretty full on. And it's also a bunch of lines as they are. So we'll be making triangles. You could do, well, yeah, let's just do some freehand triangles to start with. One triangle. What you could also do is just cut off part of the space and consider that your triangle. So now, doing this, so we do wedges across in one, going to one point. So I started at the point and then I came out of it making a wedge. I start at the other point and come up and make it a wedge. It's not meant to be curved. Keep it straight if you can. So we alternate back and forth between points here. Whoa, weaving. Okay, well anyway, overshot it, but oh well. And then what we can do is round the corners of these too. That's optional, but it looks kind of nice. Or not the corner, well yeah, round the corners of the blocky ends. And then we'll just do other triangles. We'll keep going. Oh my. So I'll put another triangle, and they don't have to all be the same dimensions. It'll be a bigger one, and they can be facing different directions, and it's a fun thing to play with too. Like if they're all facing the same way, it'll have a certain pattern. If it's facing another way, it'll have a different pattern. I'm going to try this one where I go up from that corner. That one. Back and forth, back and forth. I wonder if there are many of my neighbors in here making use of their Wi-Fi too.
Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing that if you make them face a certain direction, and I'd have to play with it to be able to tell you which, but if you make adjacent ones face a certain direction, like here I've got a bit of a fan going on. See what I mean when I do it? Have them facing that way, it starts to look kind of like a fan. Anyway. All right, let's move on to Guinea. We did that a couple classes ago.
another with similar kind of lines, so I'm going to do it a little more opposite to that one. We start this one with just kind of a loosey-goosey shape, but with a bit of a point, because then from the point we're going to go out, fan it out like that. And then similar to the betwixt we just did, we're going to round the corners on that one too. And then we can just make more of these shapes. So we could do some to it. That. But we could also put one up here. So if I pretend I'm going from that like apex between them, back down to it. Apex? I don't think that's the right word. In between. That's one like this where you, well, any of them where you have it meeting the border here. You could pretend that it's going all the way out beyond the border, and then you don't see it. Or you could start rounding these ones right along, you know, just make the border of the frame the edge of the pattern and start rounding them here. So that's Guinea. Batumber. I thought we might do some batumber. Let's see. I think I'll put that one just the other side. It's one that's kind of a ribbon, so I don't usually like putting it next to a grid, but at this point I don't have much choice because the only ones remaining are all next to grids. So, my cup. Okay. I'm going to do it next to LTD. Well, we'll just start by doing our wavy line for Batumber. And then double it up. Ooh. Actually, should have started with a straight line. Whatever. You can add that in now. Ooh. Not very straight. That's okay. So once we've got our lines, or straight lines, I should say, and we're going to go from the point beneath the peak there, right? And then we'll do kind of a teardrop shape. And again, we'll put another one in here. Sorry. Just looking target right there. There we go. Huh. Just dawned on me that I had mentioned that you should bring like pencil and whatnot, but then I also, that would have been for drawing the star, but if you've already got it, you don't need the pencil. There we go. And then in the empty spaces, if you can fit them, you could draw little pearls. Otherwise, you can just fill it in black there, fill it in. They're tricky to fit in sometimes, depending on the size. So this will be kind of a stripy pattern, so I'm going to draw another, like a wallpaper thing. So I'm doing another stripe here. Although we could have made them curly too, but, or you know, wavy. All right, I'll try and make this opposite. We'll double that one up too.
I'm dusting about it. Very good. Yeah. Very good. I like that. Just those are dusting and just those are that.
So that's the timber. We can fill in that space with that. All right. The next one we'll do is Kiasom, which is a dot-based grid we start with. I'm going to put it in this one over here. It's, well, let's see, it's going to be, actually, it's going to be pretty full on once it's done. I'll do it over here next to cot. All right, so we'll start with doing a kind of grid lines, but just with, not making sense, with dots here. So I'm doing a line of dots, and then I'll do another line of dots, making like lined up with each other, making kind of squares with the dots, if you know what I mean. It's kind of hard to see them. See where it's going to go. All right. Once we've got our grid there, we're going to do curvy lines between dots. So we go curve one way, and then we'll curve the other way. I don't have a whole lot of space to illustrate it, but just to alternate from one dot to the next. Curve that way, it would go back the other way.
I think it's like $10. My dad paid for it. Good? Yeah. I'm pretty involved in baseball, and they stream a lot of baseball on Facebook. Yeah.
And then once we've got those, now we do the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Totally distracted by the conversation going on right now. All right, so now we've got our grid. Now, this will always remind me of ginkgo leaves. Starting at the point, so just pick any one of them, start at the point, and we'll do 2 lines curving out, diverging there, and we'll double those up here, like that. And we're going to do these. So in each of them, you just look for the point where it's convex on both sides, like, you know, like, do you know what I mean? The point, not that point. The stem of the stink. What's it? Stink tree? Stink. Whatever. Can you fill it in? Oh, we're gonna check it. All right, the next one we're gonna do is Puchong. I don't know if you remember that one. Puchong, the next few are just kind of empty-ish ones to make sure we have some empty-ish, lots of white in these remaining ones. Because once we fill all these other ones in, some of them will look pretty dark. All right. Sure, let's do Puchong over here. So Puchong is kind of an organic, things are growing from somewhere pattern. And we'll do kind of a line, a wiggly line with a bit of a knob at the top. You could do a ball or like this is, I don't know how to describe it. More just teardrop shaped kind of. All right. Now we're going to do cones going down from here. So I circle around, sort of a flattish circle, and then bring it back to the stem. Try to have the circle start kind of just before the end of the point. Oops. Try that again. With my machine here, I can't tell exactly where the point is going to go, really, so that's why sometimes the lines end up where they're not meant to be.
It's like 15 with the tilt drop.